Open worlds promise freedom, but often deliver bloat. Endless collectibles, repetitive tasks, maps cluttered with icons that mean nothing. These 12 RPGs understand that focus beats scale. They offer density over size, meaningful choices over checklist objectives, and worlds that respect your time. If you're exhausted by empty sprawl, here's where depth lives. Linear narrative structure, where you're leading a caravan through a dying world inspired by Norse mythology. Choices affect who lives, who dies, and how your story unfolds. But you're always moving forward along a predetermined path, never wandering aimlessly through procedurally generated wilderness. The turn-based tactical combat is exceptional. Positioning determines everything because attacks have range limitations and terrain affects movement. The armor versus strength system creates strategic choices. Do you break armor to make enemies vulnerable, or deal strength damage knowing it won't penetrate defenses? Willpower determines both ability usage and turn priority, forcing resource management decisions every round. What elevates this is the consequence across the entire trilogy. Decisions made in the first game echo through conversations and character availability in the second and third entries. Characters who died in Banner Saga 1 obviously can't appear later, but survivors remember your choices, affecting loyalty and dialogue options hundreds of hours after the original decision. The caravan management adds survival elements between battles. Managing supplies, morale, and relationships creates tension because resources never stretch far enough. Choosing who eats today affects who survives tomorrow. Some characters will abandon you based on leadership decisions. It treats the journey as structure rather than filler. You're not exploring empty maps, collecting resources. The caravan moves along a set path, but what happens during that journey defines your unique story within the framework. The art direction is stunning. Rotoscoped animation gives characters realistic movement. The painted backgrounds evoke Nordic landscapes, and the visual style remains timeless. Combined with Austin Wintory's incredible score, it creates atmosphere that open-world games sacrifice for scale.
Is trouble brewing?
I'm not sure.
This isn't traditional Final Fantasy. It's a linear action game that trades exploration for spectacle and political drama. The world map exists, but it's deliberately constrained, funneling you between story beats rather than scattering objectives across continents filled with meaningless activities. The kaiju battles are what justify this structure. Fighting icons demands focused level design rather than open fields. These aren't just boss fights scaled up. They're cinematic set pieces where you're battling creatures the size of mountains across collapsing landscapes. Phoenix versus Ifrit happens in midair across burning cities. Bahamut versus Odin reshapes entire regions through their conflict. That spectacle couldn't work in traditional open-world frameworks where everything scales down to fit technical limitations. The political narrative drives everything. You're watching kingdoms collapse, witnessing slavery systems built around exploiting magic users called bearers, and participating in revolution that questions whether violence for liberation is justified. The writing doesn't shy from uncomfortable questions about power, oppression, and whether revenge can coexist with justice. There's no backtracking through empty environments, minimal grinding, clear progression that always moves forward. You're never stuck farming materials or completing radiant quests to pad playtime. The side quests that exist contribute to world building and character development rather than existing purely as content bloat. Some criticize the linearity as restrictive, which is a fair point. But that structure lets the narrative maintain momentum impossible in games where you can ignore the main story for 50 hours collecting feathers. This Souls-like trades open worlds for interconnected level design reminiscent of Dark Souls 1. Krat is a single city where districts connect through shortcuts unlocked via exploration, creating that perfect loop-back moment when you realize how everything connects. The weapon assembly system creates build variety without loot bloat, filling your inventory with incremental upgrades. Combining blades and handles creates unique move sets with different damage types, speeds, and special abilities. Finding a new blade fundamentally changes how your current handle plays, encouraging experimentation without overwhelming you with choice paralysis. What separates this from other Souls-likes is the lying mechanic affecting story outcomes. Throughout Crad, NPCs ask questions where truth or lies determine character fates and ending variations. The game tracks your honesty, and choosing to lie consistently changes P's humanity progression. That narrative consequence adds weight to a genre often light on character choices beyond combat builds. The atmosphere commits fully to Dark Bell, APOC horror. Streets filled with puppet corpses, grand theater stages turned into battlegrounds, the carnival transformed into nightmare fuel, all rendered with detailed environmental storytelling that rewards observation. The puppet designs are creative and disturbing, blending porcelain doll aesthetics with biomechanical horror. It respects the Souls formula while adding unique identity. The boss designs reference Pinocchio's story while remaining mechanically distinct. The perfect block system rewards timing precision, creating skill expression beyond dodge rolling. The level design maintains that classic interconnected structure without relying on open world padding. First-person dungeon crawler set inside a living jail that literally feeds on the suffering of its prisoners. The world is one massive dungeon that shifts and evolves with no open world padding, just focused exploration rewarding system mastery and tactical thinking. The dungeon corruption mechanics create tension absent in open world design. Areas become more dangerous over time as the jail's mood deteriorates, forcing strategic decisions about when to push deeper versus retreating to safety. Stay too long and random encounters become deadly, bosses grow stronger, and environmental hazards multiply. Managing risk versus reward becomes constant calculation. Combat demands understanding the blood skelter system. Characters enter powered-up states based on blood accumulation, gaining massive stat boosts, but risking corruption that turns them into uncontrollable berserkers attacking allies. Balancing power spikes with control creates moment-to-moment decisions beyond standard turn-based tactics. The jail is designed with Metroidvania elements. New abilities unlock previously inaccessible areas, encouraging backtracking that feels rewarding rather than tedious. Shortcuts appear as you progress, creating interconnected pathways that respect your time. The character relationships and visual novel elements won't appeal to everyone. The anime aesthetic and fanservice-heavy designs are deliberate choices that turn some players away immediately. But underneath is genuinely deep dungeon crawling with mechanical complexity that rewards mastery. Every floor has purpose. You're not wandering collecting materials. You're solving environmental puzzles, managing blood mechanics, and making tactical decisions about party composition based on upcoming challenges. The focused design creates engagement impossible when spreading content across hundreds of square kilometers. This JRPG abandons open-world trends for structured continent exploration reminiscent of PS1 era design philosophy. You're not collecting hundreds of items scattered across maps or climbing towers to reveal objectives. You're following story beats that take you to handcrafted locations with purpose. The battle system is where depth replaces exploration bloat. Party members can pilot mechs mid-combat, transforming encounters from standard turn-based fare into tactical decisions about when to shift between human and mech forms. The overdrive gauge demands balancing offense and defense. Attack too aggressively and you overheat, dealing reduced damage. Finding the sweet spot creates engaging decision-making every turn. Positioning on the battlefield affects damage output and ability effectiveness. Enemies in the back row take reduced physical damage, but full magic damage. rearranging your formation mid-battle to exploit positioning while managing the overdrive system creates tactical complexity. What I appreciate is the modern conveniences without sacrificing classic JRPG structure. No random encounters. Enemies are visible and can be avoided if you're clever. Fast travel exists from the start, respecting your time rather than forcing backtracking through empty environments. The quest structure is linear enough to maintain narrative momentum, but offers optional content that rewards exploration without demanding it. The pixel art is gorgeous, detailed sprite work, fluid animations, and environments that feel lovingly crafted. Combined with a fantastic soundtrack, it creates atmosphere that open-world games struggle to maintain across hundreds of hours of padding. It succeeds in understanding that smaller scope allows tighter pacing. The story moves consistently forward. Character development happens organically through plot progression rather than optional side content, and the combat remains engaging because every encounter is designed rather than procedurally scaled. Berlin is rain-slicked, dangerous, and exactly as big as it needs to be. You're running missions from a single hub that opens gradually, rewarding progress with access rather than overwhelming you with empty districts filled with question marks and collectibles. The brilliance is in the crew. These aren't party members who exist to validate choices. They have agendas that clash with yours and each other. Helping them through personal missions doesn't guarantee loyalty. It just means understanding why they might betray you later. Turn-based tactical combat rewards planning over reflexes. Cover matters. Flanking determines damage output. And coordinating your street samurai while your decker hack security mid-fight creates tension real-time action rarely achieves. The Matrix hacking adds entire secondary battlefields where you're fighting ICE and security programs while your physical team holds position. Managing both simultaneously creates strategic complexity that feels earned rather than overwhelming. It excels in mature writing that sits in gray areas. Moral choices don't come with clear answers, and the game refuses to tell you which path was right. You make calls based on incomplete information, live with consequences, and watch Berlin shift around the fallout. Some contracts have no good outcomes, just degrees of terrible choices where you're picking who suffers most. The hub design lets you explore Berlin's underbelly without filler. Bars, black markets, safe houses all serve gameplay purpose. Meeting NPCs triggers quests organically based on reputation and previous mission outcomes. The world reacts to your actions rather than just existing as backdrop. "16 hours, one town, multiple murders across decades." Pentiment proves you don't need scale when every conversation, every investigation choice, and every relationship carries weight that echoes through the entire experience. The brilliance is time pressure creating genuine choice. Investigating one lead locks you out of others permanently. You can't see everything in one playthrough because the game forces prioritization based on Andreas's background, your investigative approach, and which NPCs you build relationships with. That creates actual choice rather than the illusion most open-world games provide where you can eventually see all content through enough grinding. The historical authenticity, 16th century Bavaria rendered with manuscript aesthetics and period-appropriate fonts that change based on character education, creates atmosphere most open worlds can't match despite budgets 100 times larger. Conversations with educated clergy use ornate Latin-influenced fonts. Peasants speak in simpler typography. The UI itself becomes storytelling device. Background choices actually affect available dialogue and investigation paths. Every character creation choice ripples through the entire narrative, fundamentally changing how you experience the mystery. The murder investigations don't have clean solutions. You accuse someone based on incomplete information, watch them face consequences, and never receive confirmation whether you chose correctly. That ambiguity mirrors historical reality where justice was often arbitrary and based on social status rather than evidence. It's best at treating small scope as strength. Tassing feels real because you learn its rhythms, know which NPCs gather where, understand the social dynamics between classes and religious factions. That familiarity makes the eventual tragedies hit harder because you've invested in people rather than icons on a mini-map. The trilogy structure creates focused galaxies rather than bloated universes. Each game offers self-contained locations that feel complete without demanding 50 hours of busy work. These aren't open worlds pretending to be alive through radiant quests. They're handcrafted hubs where every conversation, shop, and encounter contributes to the larger narrative. You're always working toward objectives rather than wandering aimlessly. The galaxy map lets you choose mission order, creating agency without overwhelming you with meaningless tasks. Side content integrates into hub exploration naturally. Helping someone on the Citadel might unlock a crucial ally for the suicide mission. Characters matter more than map size. The Legendary Edition polished systems that felt rough originally. The first game's Mako sections are less painful with improved handling. Inventory management got streamlined. Combat feels consistent from Eden Prime through the Reaper War, maintaining cover shooter foundation while adding biotic combos and tactical depth. The loyalty missions aren't generic fetch quests. They're character-defining moments exploring trauma, identity, revenge, redemption. Helping Gurus hunt the mercenary who betrayed him, or joining Tali on her pilgrimage trial creates investment open-world companion systems rarely achieve. The suicide mission in 2 demonstrates why this matters. Characters die permanently based on choices made throughout the entire game. The trilogy remembers everything. Decisions in 1 echo through Citadel conversations 3 games later. Characters reference specific mission outcomes from dozens of hours prior. That continuity creates weight impossible in games designed around player freedom to ignore content. The story maintains momentum. You're never stuck doing meaningless tasks because some NPC demanded collectibles. Every mission contributes to galaxy-scale stakes while keeping personal character arcs moving.
I heard about cops in Gollum, Jensen. We're Interpol ID.
Prague is what open-world cities should be. Dense, layered, reactive. IDOS Montreal built a hub that fits multiple player archetypes simultaneously. Stealth players find vents, ledges, and alternate routes everywhere. Combat-focused players get direct paths with cover opportunities. Explorers discover apartments, hidden conversations, environmental storytelling rewarding curiosity. The city feels alive because it's designed around consequence. NPC schedules change based on your actions. Side quests trigger organically when you cross checkpoints or enter specific districts. The setting affects how guards treat you at checkpoints, which apartments you can access, and which NPCs will talk to you. The sewers, streets, and rooftops all connect through shortcuts you unlock through exploration or ability investment. The vertical design is special. You can traverse at a street level, through underground tunnels, across rooftops, or hacking into apartments and buildings. Every approach works, and the game remembers which paths you've discovered, adapting future mission design around player tendencies. I've replayed missions discovering entirely new routes because the game rewards experimentation with multiple valid solutions. The side content integrates meaningfully. Helping a black market dealer opens weapon modification options. Investigating police corruption unlocks safe houses. Every activity feeds back into your capabilities rather than existing as padding. Even collectibles, like the hidden ebooks, provide world building that enriches the political climate rather than just achievement hunting. Every square meter has purpose. There's no filler, no empty space padding playtime. Prague is small compared to modern open worlds, but feels richer because density creates discovery rather than exhaustion. You're not climbing towers to reveal map icons. You're finding shortcuts that fundamentally change how you navigate. BioWare's hub structure creates focused planetary exploration, where each world is self-contained with stories that connect to the larger narrative without forcing backtracking or filler content. You visit a planet, resolve its conflicts, and move forward. The party system is what elevates this above open-world design. Companions have motivations, backstories, and approval systems that affect how they react to your choices. They all develop through conversations and mission outcomes. You're managing relationships alongside moral choices that genuinely reshape your character's path. What makes the light/dark side system work is consequences beyond stat changes. Choosing dark side options affects appearance, dialogue options, companion loyalty, and how NPCs react. Some party members will turn against you if you fall too far. That reactivity creates weight impossible in games where morality is cosmetic. The combat is real-time with pause, letting you issue tactical commands while maintaining action pacing. It's less about reflexes and more about understanding abilities, enemy weaknesses, and party synergy. The Force powers scale beautifully from simple pushes to devastating storms that reshape battlefields. It trusts you to engage with philosophy rather than spectacle. The Force isn't just powers, it's ideology with consequences. Conversations with Jolie and Krya explore what the Jedi and Sith truly represent beyond simplistic good versus evil framing. The twist remains legendary for a reason. The game builds toward revelation that recontextualizes everything, and the focus structure ensures every player experiences it rather than missing it because they wandered off collecting side quests.
Thanks, Kuna.
One district, one murder case, no combat. Disco Elysium proves you don't need scale, you need depth. The district is compact, but every building, every NPC, every conversation reveals layers that most open worlds never attempt. Your skills are voices in your head arguing constantly. Inland Empire whispers surreal connections between seemingly unrelated details. Electrochemistry screams for substances to numb the pain. Logic tries maintaining rationality while your brain wages civil war with itself. Conversations become internal debates where 24 personality aspects fight for control. And sometimes the smartest choice is listening to the dumbest voice because your character is too damaged for pure logic. You're not climbing towers or collecting feathers. You're excavating your own broken psyche while investigating a world that mirrors your decay. The political factions aren't background flavor. They're ideological frameworks the game asks you to engage with seriously. The murder investigation serves as framework for something deeper. Yes, you're solving who killed the hangman, but the real mystery is piecing together who you were before drinking yourself into total amnesia. Every skill check reveals fragments of your past, and those revelations are often more painful than helpful. It succeeds in making failure meaningful. You can fail almost every skill check, and the story adapts. Some of my most memorable moments came from catastrophic failures, opening dialogue branches success would have locked. Missing a crucial clue doesn't break the game. It changes how you approach investigation. The district itself is small enough to memorize. You'll recognize specific corners, know which NPCs appear where, understand the social dynamics between different groups. That familiarity creates attachment impossible in sprawling open worlds where locations blur together into forgettable sameness. Los Angeles is split into distinct hubs: downtown, Hollywood, Santa Monica, Chinatown, each with unique atmosphere and gameplay focus. You're exploring curated spaces designed around specific themes rather than sprawling emptiness filled with repetitive content. You're the lowest-ranked vampire in a rigid political hierarchy. Despite being undead with supernatural powers, you lack genuine power. The Camarilla, vampire society, has rules, and breaking them means final death. Factions use you as a pawn, sending you on dangerous errands while treating you with barely concealed contempt. The prince sees you as a tool, and if you become inconvenient, elimination follows. The hub design lets Troika craft distinct experiences. Santa Monica feels like beachside gothic horror, where you're helping ghosts and hunting Sabbath vampires. Hollywood is sleazy glamour hiding dark desperation. Snuff films, blood addiction, exploitation. Downtown represents corporate vampire politics with boardrooms and bureaucracy. Chinatown brings supernatural mystery with Asian vampire clans operating by different rules. The clan system determines abilities and how society treats you. Play Nosferatu and your so hideous humans panic on sight, forcing stealth for every interaction. Malkavians are insane, with dialogue reflecting fractured perception, making conversations genuinely difficult. Tremere are blood sorcerers mistrusted by other vampires. You're not choosing a playstyle. You're choosing a curse that defines how you experience the world. Every location serves purpose. The Ocean House Hotel, the Haunted Mansion mission, is self-contained horror that wouldn't work in sprawling environments. The downtown Tremere Chantry feels oppressive because limited space creates claustrophobia. Focused design enables atmosphere impossible when filling hundreds of square kilometers.
I want him found. I want him